What goes on down there? I mean, is it like a self-help group thing, or...
Well, since you asked, we have something we want to share.
David.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Yes.
No.
Perfect.
Oh, no.
Perfect.
Now I understand why the doors are locked. You're gonna convert us. This is a conversion thing, right?
Hey everybody, welcome to MovieStrange. I'm Cult Curious Ralph. These are my two buddies, Uncle Al and Drew. We watch cult films. We talk about cult films. How's it going, guys?
What's up? It's good.
This episode,
good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. And you guys are good.
Everything clean? Everything clean,
is
right?
clean. You just froze, but we'll just keep rolling. Doesn't matter. This is what we call in the episodes Ralph's Request. So it's a film that the way Ralph, normally I pick films based on these words that these guys give me, and every once in a while I throw in a Ralph's Request, which is a movie that I know about, that I've never seen, a cult film that I've never seen or didn't want to watch, and because of the show I'm going to watch it. So this was Ralph's Request. And on top of that, it's March while we're recording this, and it's Women's History Month, and I wanted to do a cult film directed by a woman, and it's one I've seen and I brought to the table. It's called The Invitation, directed by, I'm going to say this right, Karen Kusama.
Very good.
Thank you. Here's a poster for the film. It's called The Invitation.
Nice.
This is a film about a gentleman who gets an invitation from his ex-wife for a dinner party. And it's dread. From the fade up to the fade out of this film is nothing but dread, dread, dread. Right from the very first scene, and by the way, I have to say this, we're going to spoil the film a little bit. It's a recent film, but we got to talk about it. It's hard to talk about without spoiling it, so that's what we're going to do.
I think people's if they started watching this movie, their intuition would lead them in the correct direction.
That's funny, because my intuition was flip-flopping through the whole film. I mean, I think I kind of figured it out, and then some things happened, which we can get into the specifics, and it flip-flopped. But let me just describe it. Well, actually, let me show the trailer first, and then we can jump in and talk about it. How's that sound? Good?
Yes,
That's what we do.
Let's do it.
How this thing is so official.
Maybe they're overcompensating. It's kind of hard to call everybody up out of the blue after 2 years.
I'm so glad you're here. We've got a lot to talk about. So much to celebrate tonight. Each and every one of us is on a journey, and we feel that it's important to be on that journey with the people you love. Everybody, this is my friend Pruitt.
Bars on the windows and no.
Security. Safer.
You've been acting so suspicious of our hospitality.
Well,
Jesus.
has he been like this a lot? So agitated? How has he been handling things? He can be self-destructive.
I think he's doing the best he can.
Something doesn't feel safe here.
We don't see you for 2 years, and then all of a sudden, we get invited to this lavish dinner. Don't tell me that this is normal.
What do you think is happening, Will?
This beautiful moment is upon us. Tonight is the night our faith is made real.
Why is this happening?
I knew that would be your favorite. I knew it.
There's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah. I mean, even the trailer's just full of dread. It's dread. The music is amazing, and that music is played throughout this film.
I mean,
it's got
a great score.
It stars Logan Marshall Green, who's kind of the Tom Hardy light, I guess. But I think he's really good. He was in Prometheus. He was also in what's that movie? Upgrade. Upgrade.
Yeah, he's great.
Honestly, I don't know the other actors except for one of my faves is John Carroll Lynch, another three-name actor who shows up in this thing. All right, so it's a film about everybody gets invited to a dinner party. Logan Marshall Green's character's ex-wife invites all these people. They're all old friends. They've known each other for a while. But as you learn, something happened in their, they basically lost a child. I mean, it's pretty explicit. It comes up pretty quickly in the film. And it's about how he's handling that grief, how his wife handles the grief, how all these friends who were there when all this stuff, when the son, I think, got killed, and it was a backyard accident, baseball bat or something, and how they're all kind of reconnecting. Now, the ex-wife has a new husband or boyfriend. I think it's their husband. They're living in the old house that Logan Marshall Green used to live in with his ex-wife, and there's some flashbacks of them when things were happier, them in the bathtub and all this stuff. And they try to sell them on how they've gotten over their grief. I guess he was an ex-movie record producer who was a cocaine addict. And it turns out it's a cult film about a cult that we think. I mean, basically the dinner party turns into these people trying to recruit these people into their cult. I forget what was the name. I can't remember the name of the.
Well,
I think it's The Invitation.
They call it. Yeah, they call it The Invitation.
Right.
It's actually a mid-level marketing
The title
scheme.
has a double meaning already. So
right, it is a mid-level marketing scheme, and then the movie takes twists and turns, where you're not quite sure whether the main character Logan Marshall Green is going crazy or if everybody around him is crazy. He's having suspicions because he knows his ex-wife, and we're having suspicions because we're seeing things taking place that we're not quite sure what's real and not real. There's scenes where keys are locking doors. This was a house that he used to live in that now has cages on doors that used to not be there. And it's just, like I said at the beginning, it's just dread from the minute that this movie fades up. They do the scene where they're driving up and they run over a coyote, and he has to come out and do a mercy killing on the coyote, and that starts the whole film. It's very disconcerting. And well done. A well done film. And I kind of want to talk to you guys about Al, especially because I want to make sure that the nihilism in this thing was strong enough for you, because I know how you feel about that. But who wants to go first? Let's see. Let's go with Al. I want to hear Al's take on this one.
Okay. Well, I actually really enjoyed this film. It's kind of like in my wheelhouse. I enjoy films about cults. I grew up in the 90s, so I remember Heaven's Gate. I wasn't old enough to be alive during the big ones like the Manson family or anything like that, but I definitely remember seeing, the Nike shoes on the bed on the CNN report of Heaven's Gate people leaving their bodies to go be on the UFO. So that kind of had an influence on me, like seeing that in real life. And it's interesting to watch it in films, like fictional films. So I think when you first start watching the movie, you can tell there's something wrong. But like when they started, like really, when they brought out the laptop and they watched the woman die on the laptop, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be like Jonestown. People are going to get murdered in this house at some point. So it was just a matter of just like really enjoying the dread and really enjoying the gaslighting they're doing to him. Yeah, because like they were totally gaslighting this guy. And there's a scene where like you think, maybe they're not really gaslighting. Well, there are two scenes where you think they may not be gaslighting him. The one scene is when the guy that also survives at the end, he comes and talks to him out in the yard, and he's like, we're all having a hard time. We understand that you're going through some stuff, but everybody's normal in there, so just come back in. So like when you have these third-party people come in and say that to him, who don't necessarily have a connection to the cult, it kind of throws you off a little bit. No, it's a fucking cult. But then the other scene where when he gives his big monologue about all these people are crazy, everything's wrong, and the guy who hadn't made it to the party yet shows up, and they're like, you're just blowing this shit out of proportion here.
Because there's voicemails that are happening where Logan Marshall Green assumes that this boyfriend, Troy, was at the front 2 hours before the party started and couldn't get in. There's something about him not showing up, and everybody's saying, well, the guy's always late. And
well, the key thing is there's no cell service up there.
Right.
So he doesn't get the message until several hours later, and that starts to fill in the story of what may or may not have happened. And you don't know as an audience member at this point, you've been a victim of gaslighting as well, because you really don't know. Is he twisted by grief at the loss of his child, and this is all completely inappropriate for him to be back in this house with these people that were all there when their kid died at this birthday party for their child? You don't really know what's going on, and that is, to me, that's the source of the dread, the whole movie, that I really enjoyed as well.
Right. You're flip-flopping because you're not quite sure whether he's going crazy or they're crazy. Now, as soon as they show that video of the woman dying of cancer, and now you realize, like Al was saying, it's a third-rate marketing scheme. They're trying to get these people, at least understanding, because ultimately what they're going to do is they're going to try and kill everybody at the end of this dinner party. You don't know that at the moment, but it does feel like they're trying to recruit them into the cult. Right? There's even the scene that got me was when Logan Marshall Green's on the steps. I can't remember his character's name. That's why I keep using. I just love saying Logan Marshall Green. But he's on the steps and he realizes that the key, because I've had this happen in a house of mine where I rented a new house, and there was a key that locked from the inside. That if you pull that key away, you can't get out. If somebody can't get that key, you're kind of trapped. It's a serious fire hazard, right? So Logan Marshall Green's looking, and David, I think that's his name, comes over, and he takes the key, and that's the first time where he goes, "No, why are you doing that? That's a fire hazard."
Is everything okay, Will?
Yeah. Yeah, why don't you leave the key in the door, though?
Yeah, there was a home invasion up in the canyon about a month ago. This couple got terrorized.
Okay, what if there was a fire?
And it's like this trust thing he has now developed with David, who's like, okay, I get it. I understand what you're doing. And so you're watching this, and you're kind of siding with Logan Marshall Green. Then you're realizing maybe he's being a little overly paranoid. He knows his ex-wife. He's doing that thing where he's looking at her in her bedroom, and she goes down and gets the pills. And why is he, like, you're going all over the place. And then you meet John Carroll Lynch, who comes in. Drew, I'll let you explain because you're better at this stuff than I am.
Well, I was going to say that the part that you just described that's throughout the movie, he has what feels to us as audience members legitimate concerns. Like, hey, why are you locking the door? What if there's a fire? And the hosts of the party, his ex-wife and her new boyfriend or husband or whatever, they have answers for everything. And it's like the answers seem reasonable, except that they have answers for everything.
Right.
And part of the mystery to me, like you said, it's clear from the beginning that these people have an agenda, and they show you the agenda. Here's a video of what's essentially our cult leader, played by Toby Huss, and we are going to show you a video of someone dying peacefully. So you realize you're watching a death cult. But I was thinking about real cults too, like Al said. I remember Heaven's Gate, and everybody in Heaven's Gate that died, they weren't interested in taking us with them. And there are death cults that will kill everybody if you attack them, like in Waco. And then there's death cults like Aum Shinrikyo in Japan that release the gas in the subway. And you're kind of like, I don't know why they've brought these people here other than they're connected to the story of this death and this grief and stuff. So you're not really even sure how much danger they're in, but you know something is wrong. And it's also a very beautiful movie. The cinematography and the editing and the design of this house.
The house is beautiful.
It's gorgeous and warm yellow
in the
light
Hollywood
and
Hills.
all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. And
that's pure
it's
Manson
disconcerting.
family stuff. the houses in the Hollywood Hills. That's where the Tate house was.
Right.
They when he's locking the door, he says there are people that went up and robbed a house up on the hill, and
Right,
they're in the
ugly.
Hollywood Hills. That's what that's kind of what happened for the Manson murders. There were people going up on the hill to rob them and kill them. Obviously,
Yeah, good point.
So there's like these little sprinkles of like different cults throughout the movie that I think really influenced the writing and the direction.
Yeah. Now, when did the turn happen for you that you realized, oh, this is gonna be bad? I'll tell you what I thought.
What does bad mean? What
like,
do you mean?
Like
the
you
physical
realize that
danger,
they're in danger. Because at first you just think it's weird. The wife she's grieving too, and they're trying to work through that. There was a moment when I thought the sex party was going to happen. They did this whole thing, but for me it was John Carroll's speech where he talks about killing his wife.
He killed his wife.
Right.
Yeah.
That and
to
that
me, it
crazy
was
woman Sophie or whoever kept coming in.
Well, that's what I was going to say. To me, it was a little earlier than that because it's very clear as soon as they get there, everybody's awkward and there's been some time and there's this history and stuff, but everybody knows everybody. And then suddenly there's this woman who he spots down the hall. She has no pants on and she's staring at him, but he doesn't recognize her. I mean, he still stares at her because she has no pants on, but he does not know who she is. And then this character Pruitt shows up, so I started to feel like, okay, this is a problem because anybody that's not known to them is already there. It wasn't like this was like their old friend's new girlfriend or something. This is people that don't seem to belong, and that's a problem. Never mind that, of course, John Carroll Lynch. I mean, he's a wonderful actor, but he can be just the most warm and wonderful Marge Gunderson's husband in Fargo, or he can be Twisty the Clown in American Horror Story, and he is totally convincing. So he was definitely there was a kind of a low key menace that I wasn't surprised paid off to him being a savage, murderous guy.
And that scene where the one woman wants to leave, and this is where Logan Marshall Green really started getting paranoid when she wants to leave. Yep. They let her leave, except he goes out, John Carroll Lynch goes out and says, I think I parked behind you. And we don't see anything. We don't know what happened, but you kind of assume what happened.
Well, we see her leave, but then he's like, oh, wait. And then he steps out of sight. So know by the end of the movie, obviously he killed her.
Right. But again,
you never see her again.
Up until... There's that scene where they're talking about Choi. Is that his name, the boyfriend?
Choi, yeah.
The one who's not
Logan
there.
Marshall Green is like, okay, where is he? He said he was supposed to be here. You guys, what's something? And then there's a knock on the door, and he shows up.
Yep.
And you go, oh my God, it is. The twist is going to be that it's all in this dude's head, and he's absolutely batshit crazy. And then they do another twist, and it ends.
I never thought it was going to go that way.
Al, you must have just been... Woohoo! This is the greatest.
I never thought it was going to go that way. I assumed that the writers were playing games and that it was going to end the way it ended.
Oh, you thought right from the you had no doubt.
Like as soon as I saw that lady die on the tape, and he started talking about him killing his wife. There was no other ending. That is the ending. Like most of the characters in the movie were going to die.
Well, I did too until the boyfriend came back. When the boyfriend came back, that made me go, wait a minute, there's something's going to change. Then instantly, because that's when the girl...
Well, see, but there's a question that hangs over the whole movie as I'm watching it for me. This is a good question. It's quite clear that all of these friends haven't seen Will in 2 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But I don't get the impression that they haven't all not seen each other for 2 years. Some of them have, some of them hasn't. So for a while, I'm thinking maybe they're all in the cult, and this is to lure Will back in. Because see, the problem is the whole premise of the cult is like you don't have to feel anything, which is obviously nonsense. I mean, that's not how you deal with grief or feelings or things like that, because you're going to feel them anyway because you're a human being. But the whole yes, I also lost my child, but I feel great and I feel light and all that stuff. That seems very dangerous from the beginning, but I didn't know how many people were really involved. And then when it goes, suddenly you're like, okay, everybody's going to be a victim here. Because that's the other thing. You're not sure. Is everybody going to die because they're all in it together? And that's what the cult leader wants them to do? Or are the people who are in the cult, who are at least the four, the host couple and the new woman and John Carroll Lynch, are they going to do what they ultimately do, which is try to butcher everybody? But you don't know. You don't know where the lines are. You don't know exactly how much danger they're in, our lead character and his girlfriend, except you know they're in danger. And I like that tension a lot.
No, it was throughout.
Right.
But again, I was not quite the Troy thing is what threw me off. And like I said, it didn't throw me off for very long because basically they wrote whatever happened right then. But it was that moment of, oh, this is going to go another direction. And and if they had all turned to be in the cult and he was the only one, that would have been pretty freaky.
I don't know. Maybe I would have. Maybe I would have liked this one even more if it was, instead of a cult, it was him just having a breakdown and killing everyone else.
Well, that's what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, maybe that would have made it better.
You would have been happier.
Yeah.
Well, look, there are a lot of movies where
would throw me off.
There are a lot of movies where you know what's happening. Ultimately, it turns out that it's happening in their head, or you don't know if it's happening in their head. Like, you could legitimately say that the end of, or that beyond a certain point in the movie Total Recall, it's all just in Schwarzenegger's head and he doesn't really win or defeat the bad guys. You could say that the end of Minority Report is all just fantasy from when he gets arrested by his own people and haloed. And, there's a certain, I don't know exactly what's going on with those movies. I like that you could interpret it in different ways. This movie was going to have an answer, one way or the other. I just genuinely wasn't sure where it was going to go. And if it had been what you just said, like he freaked out and killed everybody because he was paranoid and not well, that would have been legit. If it went the way where everybody was trapping him or went the way it went in the movie, that all was legit. But I want to ask you guys about the ending. Because when they finish the action and the killing in the house, and now you've got the three survivors, and they see that right before it all went down, David lit the red lamp, and then Will looks out and he realizes he's hearing screaming and dogs barking, and a helicopter flies over, and he sees red lamps at multiple houses. So this is clearly something that's going down, which they implied earlier. I guess David said something about, you don't know how many there are of us. There's actually thousands of us. It suddenly became
like
a couple New York and Los Angeles too. Like they mention a few cities where.
And they're in the hills of L.A. Somebody knocked on the door. Two women came, thought they were coming to a party, who were probably part of the setup to kill more people up the road. So I mean, right? The red lamp thing. Does it need to be? My question is, does it need to be at that scale at the end? Like, does it need to be? This is happening everywhere, or I thought so.
It was intimate that worked for me. It's not that it didn't work for me that it got big. I did not expect that to be sort of the
that
twist
made it
of the
a
twist
downer.
of the
If it was
twist.
only the one lamp in the backyard, in my mind, they survived. It's like, okay, they made it. They survived. It was horrible. Now you go, wait, it's happening everywhere, and they might not
still
survive.
Doomed.
Right, they're
still doomed.
Right.
Okay, that's legit.
Al, you're laughing, but I think you're laughing with me.
They're all doomed seemed more like Al's taste would be fulfilled. So I'm not surprised that he would like that and not worry
Al,
about it,
what was your thought when you saw all the lamps?
I enjoyed it. I do like the depth that it went. I like that it's like a worldwide phenomenon. That it's like
it's a good ending,
a legitimately huge cult, and that a lot of people have fallen into this trap, I guess.
Yeah, and listen, the movie had no, there was no release. There was no scene that was a release in this film. Even when the scene that Al was cackling over in the trailer when John Carroll Lynch gets his head bashed in by the girlfriend. Man, you were really liking that.
Oh my God.
There's no release because you're like, they're still trapped in there. I thought at any minute something. What's that?
There's still people in there. There's still other people moving around, so you can't enjoy that death because there are other people coming to kill you.
You think about his
and
buddy
you
there
can't call for help.
Right.
You can't call for help because you don't have cell service and stuff's already going crazy anyway.
The windows are all sealed up, and that poor guy, that friend that gets stabbed in by the pool, and he's just like, "Come on, I don't." It's just some brutal, because they just didn't expect that was going to happen to them.
Is that Ben, the guy that
Ben?
Yes.
That Eden slapped?
Yeah.
And then kissed also.
Well,
Yes.
that whole
Yeah,
game they
she-
played. Would you
She gave what I would call mixed messages to that guy. That was a little
Well, I think
confusing
that was
for
her
him, I
point,
think.
right? Her point.
No, it was,
that
yeah.
yeah, and they were setting him up. The whole setup was to get him at the dinner, and toast the drinks. That was the whole setup, was to get them comfortable, get them up to dinner, and that one woman just drank too quick. If she didn't,
Look, yeah, I mean, it's a ritual that they have to. They clearly, you learn this as you go. It's a ritual, so they have to invite you in. They have to probably lie to themselves to say that you want to be part of this,
Right.
so that when you die, you will all travel to freedom together. It's like bits and pieces of real cults in that way, and so they, that's why at the end you see Eden. Is being comforted by David. She's like, I can't do this. And he goes, we're almost finished. This is almost done. And at this point, they've already shot people and stabbed people and clubbed people and poisoned people and all this stuff. So the whole evening was designed to not only do this, but I think to give everybody the opportunity to feel like they were part of it, and then they would all go quietly by drinking.
Well,
And if they didn't
I
join
think it
in,
was-
then they would go anyway. So
I think the games were also to give them an opportunity to do something that they would enjoy before they died, basically. So like that one guy's like, oh, he's crass and it's like, I want a blowjob. No, I really do want a blowjob. Like that was his opportunity to get that before he was going to drink the Kool-Aid.
Oh,
basically.
I gotcha.
So
like a last
yeah.
wish.
So like all
type of
these
thing.
all
I
these
gotcha.
things are like you're clearing the air. You have an opportunity to do something you've never done or you've always wanted to do, and that was like your going away party basically before you.
But
drank
they
it.
didn't know that.
They didn't know that,
No,
but
no, they didn't know
they
that,
were
sure.
giving them it was still part of the game or part of the
Maybe.
ritual.
I think it was part of them just getting them relaxed to get up to that dinner table. And like I said, if that woman hadn't been so selfish to drink before the toast, they would all died. I mean, they would all died. So in a way, her selfishness saved everybody. And unfortunately, how many people survived?
Well, that was the cocaine. That was the cocaine that got her.
The cocaine
early, I
lady, right?
guess.
She was,
Yeah.
That guy was in rehab, but he had cocaine in the house. I don't know how that worked, but whatever.
It's just a reminder,
Right.
Well, when you're gonna die, who cares, right?
But I just found this film. It's not an easy watch because, like I said, there's no light. There's nothing that makes you relax. You're not relaxed at all through the film.
Yeah.
It's definitely unrelenting.
You know how I would describe this movie, and this is a compliment to the movie. I think this movie is very effective.
Yep.
It knows what it wants to do, and it pulls it off. It's confident, and it works. And even as you're going through it, and it's drawing you towards where it's going, you don't know exactly what's going on and where it's going to go and how it's going to work. And there are probably 3 or 4 different ways you could tell yourself if it went this, if it went that, if it went this, that would all be plausible. And it just tightens the tension, and it's very effective. And I like when a movie, any kind of movie, any genre movie, has a goal and nails it. And this movie is really, really
and it
good
gets
at
into
that.
my whole 70s roots. Like, this is a paranoid film that stays paranoid till the end. It doesn't, there is no happy, like that ending, you don't really know what's going to happen then, but you kind of go, oh my God, this is crazy. This is worldwide.
Yeah.
That's
And
like
you know it's not
that's like
gonna
a
be
Planet
good.
of the Apes ending. Isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
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 It pulls the rug out.
Which
from
one?
You, from under you.
The good one, not the.
Yeah, the good one.
Yeah.
the original
I,
Heston one.
I highly recommend this film. I think it's like I said, it's not a happy film. You're not going there to escape your problems. I mean, it's gonna remind you of your problems. But I thought everybody did a real nice job. Now, I didn't know all the other actors. I seen Ben, that guy who played Ben, in a couple. I can't quite put my finger on it. Obviously, John Carroll Lynch and David Logan
Well,
Green. Is that his name?
Logan Marshall Green. Yeah,
Marshall Green.
David was. I'm going to butcher this name. I think is Michel Huisman. He was the Khaleesi's boyfriend in Game of Thrones. It was actually played by 2 actors, and he was the one that played it for more than one season. He was the one that played it for most of the show. And then some of the other people are familiar, and you've got it's funny, you've got a couple actors that look like other actors, like Logan Marshall Green looks like Tom Hardy.
Yes, he does.
And Tammy Blanchard looks like Ruth Wilson. And there's just, even though I didn't recognize everybody, there's like a really satisfyingly deep talent of cast. Like, there's nobody in there that I go, they're the problem. Everybody delivers. what they're supposed to do.
I was definitely glad to see Toby Huss as Dr. Joseph, because he's in one of my favorite shows, Carnival, on HBO.
Oh,
he
such a
plays
good
Stumpy.
show.
He's done a ton. He's in that 'Halt and Catch Fire," and he shows up in a lot
Toby
of
Huss
different
is
things.
Toby Huss is great, and Carnival has a similar doomsday vibe in
Yes,
different
it does.
sections
Oh, really?
to this.
And
So
everybody should see
I
that
wish
show.
they'd finish that show, man. They could. I mean, you know, anything can come back. If they want to bring back an HBO show, bring that one back. I'll watch it.
Absolutely.
Oh,
That's so
there you
good.
go.
Clancy Brown is incredible in that show. I just want to say that because he's awesome.
Incredible. He's incredible. He's like John Carroll Lynch. I mean, he really, when he's bad, he's really bad. And then, like in Promising Young Woman, he plays the lead character, Carey Mulligan's father, and he's just like kind of a big, gentle guy who wants the best for his daughter, that he doesn't know how to help her. And that's not the Kurgan from the Highlander movies.
Yeah, I was
you
gonna
know,
say,
so
that's
it's
my
really,
Highlander
it's
guy,
really, it's
right?
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Kurgan. It's great. He's great.
All right, so generally, you guys, Al, I'm surprised. Al, you enjoyed this film.
I did.
And you
think
hadn't seen this before?
I haven't even heard of this movie before.
Oh wow.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think this kind of fits into like the new wave of atmospheric horror. Like this kind of sort of reminds me of like Midsommar and Hereditary, just like the slow atmospheric build and the ramping up of tension and stuff like that. So I think it definitely fits in with that new wave that's been
hadn't thought about
percolating
it
for
now,
like the
but
last
Agreed.
5 years or so.
Yeah, it's not as
Agreed.
gory as those. Like Hereditary gets really into it, but
Yeah. I
Well, but
think
not
it's
really, except for
complementary,
except for the kid dying. Hereditary is one of those movies that saves. It gets really violent and crazy and bloody at the end.
Well,
It's not bloody the
Gabriel
whole way
Byrne's
through.
scene is pretty intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
But
like
it-
it's
it-
shocking.
this-
Midsummer's got horrible stuff happening
Yes,
on
it
and off
does.
for
Yes,
the
it
first
does.
from the first scene of the movie.
Yeah, I don't like cult movies. Movies about cults make me very uncomfortable because you don't want
Good.
those people to fall into the trap, and it's like they always do. It's tough. And Midsummer was one of those. You're like, oh, those poor bastards walk into something they had no clue.
Except that one really confuses you, because at the end she's actually kind of happy
Well, yeah.
to have found this family, and if you watch the movie, you understand why from the beginning, what happens to her family and her
again,
shitty boyfriend and all this stuff. And
that's
it's very
another film
it's
about
very
grief.
disorienting to us as the audience, which is, I mean, I love that, and this movie
Well,
does
the way
that kind
these
of trick.
directors use grief as a way to get you. I mean, Midsummer was all about her grief. This one was about both his grief and his ex-wife's grief. I mean, she didn't acknowledge it until the end.
It's all trauma.
Right? Trauma. And she had her final say was pretty emotional when she finally admitted to
I
him
think
what
that-
was going on.
I think I didn't necessarily buy when she's like, "Will you take me outside?" I didn't buy the fact that they would actually take her outside. Like that felt like a movie to me, because like she was the impetus for all this horrible stuff that just happened, and all the friends getting butchered, and like Kira having to kill Pruitt, and like I just don't buy that they would be so overwhelmed with loving emotion that they would take her outside
Except
to die.
he had the child with her. I mean, it's just
I don't
one
know.
of those.
I
You
just-
just can't listen. It's
That's
a movie,
the thing.
though, so
I also would have left her there, but I didn't have a child and love and lose a child with her. So I don't know.
that's what I mean.
If I
That's
was
why-
my
I don't know
girlfriend,
why
I
Ki-
wouldn't have been so eager to help out.
I don't know why Kira helped out, other than he had
Well,
a
because
bum
she loves
arm.
him.
Yeah.
Because she loves Will. Yeah, he got shot. She loves Will. There's a lot of love in the movie. It's just that some of it has been twisted and perverted. And,
Yeah, they love their
gone
wine.
down terrible dark paths.
Those two
They
gay
what?
guys love the wine. That's all they talked about through the whole
The
film.
1985 Rothschild sounds expensive, so
It did sound
it must be
expensive.
good. It must
Yeah.
be good.
Anyway, listen. I loved it. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. So I think that was a good. That was not like the Ralph request that I normally would do. I'd get a little more intense. But given that, like I said, female director, I just thought it was an interesting film, and I think it's classified as a cult film because, like, even Al didn't know about this one. So I don't know. Hope
Well,
you like
also
it.
you defined Ralph's request as something you haven't seen, and then you've you've seen this. So
I know,
you're
I own
already
this.
You're already breaking
You
the
own
rules.
this?
I know, I
That means
own
that
this
you're not
film.
going to be as susceptible to a cult, and I think that's healthy for you.
Listen,
I think that's good.
Is this a physical media own, or is this just like a Apple iTunes store?
Google
Okay.
Google Play. But I would physically own this one. I love this.
Yeah, it's
film.
on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, I know. This didn't, like I said, it didn't fit the mold of a Ralph's Request.
That's okay.
But this is what we do. So
You don't have to drink poison wine in repentance or whatever. It's fine.
a Rothschild.
Good choice, Ralph.
1985. All right. Having said that, let's move on to the 2x4. Now it's time for 2 movies, 4 words brought by Drew. I'm going to pick the movie based on these 2 sets of words. So, Beast, Europe, Hunter, Swordplay, Teacher, Wilderness, Santa Hostage.
I think I know at least one of these.
I think Teacher, Wilderness. I'm going to go with Beast, Europe, Hunter, Swordplay. I'm just not in a
Okay.
Christmas mood. I'm not even sure that's a Christmas film, but I don't know.
Is Al, is that the one you think you know?
The Christmas one.
Or
yeah.
did you think the Christmas? Okay.
Do we
the
guess, or
movie you
could
have
that come
selected-
up later?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not going to tell you the other one. I can promise you, if you picked one or the other, they are both going to come up multiple times. So
Again?
you pick them because they're both
Okay,
excellent.
So this
Yeah,
is the
but
one
it won't
I
be the same
picked.
words.
I picked this one.
So you
Beast-
picked Beast, Europe, Hunter, Swordplay.
Right.
That is a completely insane French action movie called Brotherhood of the Wolf, Le Pack
Good
de
choice.
Loups. Thank you. It's there's a legend called about the Beast of Gévaudan, which is supposed to be a monster that grabbed and ate and killed young women in the French countryside. And Samuel Le Bihan plays a guy who goes to try to hunt down this beast and find out what's going on. And he brings his friend from the New World, so there's a Native American character. And you take all that different stuff and throw in an absolute crazy shitload of martial arts and sword fighting and lunacy and Monica Bellucci, and it's all there. So it's a really,
there might
it's
be
a
boobs,
really
Ralph.
fun movie.
You know
Oh,
what?
yeah.
Listen,
it's got
listen.
one of the most incredible transitions in any movie I've ever seen, and it is specifically about breasts. So I think that
Okay.
you
Well,
will.
I
really
am no
enjoy this.
longer boobs and bush. I'm done with that. We're now.
Oh, you're retired?
This is our 16th we've recorded, so we're only right now on the 5th or whatever. I'm not going to do that anymore because you guys keep throwing me off and you're sending me stuff that's confusing me, and I'm just not going to say it anymore. You know what I like. It doesn't matter what I like because your words are picking
There
it.
was-
So, and I'm learning a
There was
lot.
Bush. There was good. There was Bush in the invitation. So you checked that box.
Where was that?
When he sees Lindsay Burgess' character down the
Oh,
hall.
right. That
when
was
they first get there.
well lit Bush.
So-
I might add.
See, so
That
you're
girl, that
checking your own
woman was
boxes.
cray cray. That woman. That's when you knew things were bad, when she was practicing her death face.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And then she died poorly. She didn't go out well, that one. She
Yeah,
didn't
she
quite
seemed
get into
generally
I think she
unstable.
realized, oh my God, I'm actually going to die here. So
Yeah, it's a great.
I hope
performance.
I hope. I mean, this is a new film. I know we kind of spoiled it, but I guess this is for people who've seen these films. I don't know. I feel a little bit like I don't like to give it away, but how else do we talk?
Well, we warned them.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
warned them.
I know.
And
But-
there's some movies that you really should see it first, and there's some movies I know many people in the audience will not see it, but hopefully they enjoy the conversation. So what else do we need?
All right.
Please
Sounds
see
good. Okay.
Dr. Caligari.
Dr. Caligari.
There you go.
Remind me the film I'm going to watch now again.
It's called Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Okay. What year did it come out? Do you have any idea?
2002.
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah, I actually saw it in the theater
I did
wow.
as well.
with my
Okay.
now wife. It wasn't long after we met, which when we met in 2001. So that sounds about right.
All right. So it's wife proof.
Do you have the
I
physical?
didn't say she
release of
liked
this?
it. I just
Oh.
said I saw it with her.
Well,
Do you
we'll
have
see.
this on DVD?
I do.
Nice.
Excellent.
I think
I
that's
do.
out of print, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a beautiful special edition. It has all these crazy notes, and the movie. I mean, it's just. I think
Nope.
you're going to really enjoy it, Ralph.
okay.
I'm not saying anything.
I
I'm
got
just
it.
saying I think you're
Got
going to
it.
like it.
All right. All right, gentlemen. Nice job. Al, I'm so happy you like this one. I feel good when I can bring one that you love the nihilism and
It's
it ended the way.
Al-approved.
Right. It's Al approved. Al approved. That's nice. All right, guys. Stay safe. Watch some cult films, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
See ya.